So hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. 20th edition of our Logical Talk today. This is the 20th month that we have continued this initiative, and with your support, I am very positive that we have some interesting topics coming up in the upcoming months also. And so, while again I'm saying is, I'm sure you are much aware of by now as to what we do. But yes, there are some numbers which keep changing on this slide every time we come back to you. Uh, Lawbit offers global regulatory and risk management softwares. Our softwares is called as GCMS, Global Compliance Management Solution, which comes integrated with the regulatory intelligence for not just for India, but globally as well. So as of today, we have served more than 70 plus countries, wherein our enterprise clients is where who have multi-entity, multi-geographical presence. They have got the benefit of having a single software with integrated regulatory intelligence and the regulatory updates on with an auto feed from the software. Today, the software is being used by more than 450 plus entities globally, where 2,500 plus locations have been mapped. Um, Maybe millions of compliance risks have been taken care from the software, and we have still maintained 100% enterprise client retention with a very envious net promoter score of 42 plus. And we are being able to do this with a team of 80 plus lawyers and tech professionals who are based out of our global delivery centers in Jaipur. And we are also operating from Pune, Gurgaon, and Mumbai as of today. Um, Thank you so much for joining us today. So, Mr. Rajendra Punde, I'm sure whoever is with us coming back again, they know Mr. Rajendra by now. Coming back, Mr. Rajendra is founder and managing partner of Legalution Corporate Consulting Services LLP. Mr. Rajendra had amazing corporate career spanning for around more than 2.5 decades. His last stint was with Nika, and he's also served with Flipkart, eBay, Bharti Group, and with a variety of industries. And he has helped companies go to the to an IPO levels, and he has managed all the domains of of legal domains, be it regulatory compliance, risk governance, or contracts, litigations. I think he is in his entire career span, he has managed it all. And one thing which we have always come back with Mr. Punde is his keen interest in the new subjects. Where I say whether it is dark pattern or today we are talking about the greenwashing. Is he has really come up with some very interesting observations and suggestions for us in those evolving subjects, and thus have been very helpful as well. And today also I look forward to hear your views on this newer topic, which is quite interesting. Uh, I'm sure to offer all of us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jyant. Thank you so much for the warm welcome and the kind words. So yes, and I'm also extremely grateful to the Lawrbit team and Jyant. It's always been a very professional experience, the way the sessions are conducted and the way we interact in the preparatory stage. So the first time I did, I don't recall, but I think I've done around five or six with ESG, a couple of them on ESG, then BRSR, and then of course dark patterns that was a few months back, and then now we are doing on this greenwashing. So it's always a pleasure, and I'm also happy to note that Lawrbit is championing the compliance adherence across corporates in India and also globally. It's been a wonderful experience, and I'm very happy to be here today on this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I think now, as I see, the number of participants have increased. Let's get into the discussion. Very quickly, I'll just touch upon our agenda for today. First of all, we'll do a quick deep dive into this newer topic of greenwashing, whether it's new at all or it's something old, maybe with the newer packaging. We'll try and understand it. We'll understand the driving factors for greenwashing and what it is when I say greenwashing 2.0, and the evolution of greenwashing framework in India, how it is started impacting us. And we will also talk about the applicability, ceiling features, and some of the penalties which have been framed in different regulators under this for these guidelines. And we'll also talk about the strategies and guidelines for businesses to avoid legal hurdles, because again, it's a newer subject, newer topic which is evolving right now. So it's very important for businesses to start understanding how it is going to impact them, because sometimes some things may not apparently impact you immediately, but they may have bearance over a longer period. Overview of some key foreign regulations, because it's while in India we've started talking about it from 2021 onwards, but this has been a subject, something which is also there in other territories globally. Also, organizations, the governments are talking about these regulations and guidelines.
Sure. So yeah, I think thank you, Jayant, for this and the walkthrough to the agenda items as well. So let us start off with a statement that specifically deals with what greenwashing is about, right? So if I go about and make a statement like the one that you see on your screen, that this presentation has been made, written using 100% renewable material, generated zero emissions, and rainforest. This in its own is a very good example of greenwashing, right? I mean, you are making claims which absolutely have no connection with your product, and of course, in a very lighter vein, this is the way what's happening around in the corporate world or in the marketplace. Okay, so here we talk about the historical background, basically what greenwashing is about, and as the introduction, and then there is some of the illustrations and the regulatory background out there. So greenwashing, I would say, is characterized as a strategy by corporates to do selective disclosure by specifically of its environmental practices with regard to its product or services. And the intent here is to ensure that this obtains for the organization, for that particular corporate, a very positive brand attitude, which ultimately adds to its sales and of course revenue growth. So the intent is to go about and present or make a claim about being about adhering to the environment or being eco-friendly and being really very mindful of planet Earth, and ensuring that your products and services go about and do that consistently. Where in reality, it may not be the case. So when that happens, when the reality of the product or the service that is being offered is not in line with or is not syncing completely, it is not adhering to the claim made by the corporate, that is clearly what is greenwashing about. So if you see the historical background, it is about hotels requesting guests, and you even see that today, asking them that they might not want to have the towels to be washed or linen to be washed every day, but in reality they actually are doing it to save on cost for on the hygiene and the housekeeping expenses that hotels are. So this basically is an example out there. I would look also at the regulatory background. So when we talk about false claims and misleading claims and those which are not really something which is substantiated and put up by a manufacturer or a service provider, those areas have actually been created. Now, these have been very clearly addressed in earlier regulations as well. We had the MRTP, then the MRTP unfair trade practices, of course, was enshrined significantly into the Consumer Protection Act, and then you have the drugs and cosmetics legislation. So all of these frown upon specifically claims which a product or a service may go about and say or indicate to a potential buyer or a service recipient, and bring it out in a fashion which makes it very attractive. This has been covered, but environmental claims are a different genre here. The reason is that across the world, and specifically also in India, two clean drivers that I see, I think the consumer is getting more and more conscious about how his the lifestyle habits are impacting the environment going forward. I mean, you see a lot of awareness around that, more and more consumers coming into play. And this is pushing corporates, pushing manufacturers, service providers into making products that are environmental friendly. Now, if the products are actually what they say they are, there is absolutely no issue, and everybody is happy because the manufacturer obviously has taken good care and the effort to ensure that the products that are put before the consumers are in fact made in a manner that is environmental friendly. But if they are not, then you are cheating the consumer, and you are just creating a situation where the customer is buying a product thinking it to be of a certain value, and the value perception that consumers today are attaching to eco-friendly products is pretty high, and they are willing to pay. And I know this for a fact, and I think even those on the call would also agree with me. They're willing to pay more because they feel that they're doing their bit with regard to, let's say, whether it's a bottle of shampoo that you're buying, whether you're buying a electronic item like a television set, and it says it's got an energy saving, a label on it, or it's a washing machine, which definitely you always need to buy, but you're ready to and willing to pay slightly more because you are confident that by paying more, you are actually, delivering, or you are contributing to a sustainable environment. And that is something which is not right, because if you are paying for something and it's actually not happening, then that is unacceptable. So I would say, if we can go on to the next slide. The illustration here is about, I just talked about the shampoo brand here as well. So we can go on to the next slide. And
Sir,
Jayant,
I
please
just
feel
want to,
free
I
to
just, I
contribute.
yeah, I just want to ask you one thing, on the first slide itself, because, when I started reading about greenwashing, obviously the first example came of
Yeah.
Jay, what Western world, when, about this hotel experience. Now, as a consumer, whenever I go and see this in a hotel that, they will expect me not to put my towels, I feel that, yes, I'm doing my bit by not letting it, go. But how do I differentiate? Uh, because if I see this is something the hotel has taken one step. Now, they've done something. But why do I say this is this is greenwashing and not a, genuine effort?
So here, Jayant, the intent behind that, is to put the customer to in a situation where you are asking the customer who's paying your top dollar for staying in that hotel. Probably it's a five-star hotel or a luxury a hotel that you are staying currently, and you paying top dollar. And then when you are staying in that room, you are coaxed into by putting up a message like this, saying that please reconsider if you really want this to be washed every day. When in reality, hotels are required to and should be doing it. That actually is a norm in hotel, that you have the linen has to be changed every day. That it has to be clean, and it has to including your the towels and hand towels and everything that you actually use in the hotels. But they put you in a situation and leave that decision to you. They do not say we will not do it, but they leave the decision to you. So typically you would see that the hotel says that if you really want us to wash your the towels every day, then put it in the bathtub. If not, then you can hang it on the chair, and then we will not wash it. So by doing that, by saving on the washing, they actually obviously saving money on that. But typically a hotel is required to provide you with clean fabrics during your stay there, and because you're also paying for it. Now you don't do that, the hotel is absolutely fine with it, because it's your choice. You've decided you don't want to give it for washing, so they are fine with it. So that is an example where you would come up with the reasoning behind that action by the hotel owner is incorrect. It's not something which is friendly to the consumer.
And please correct me if my understanding is also right. So what we are saying is, as a small action which is voluntarily, you're trying to make it a bigger claim uh, that it is, we are doing some service to the environment, or we are being eco-friendly, where it was a voluntary action. It was not your holistic approach, because uh, when you adopted more sustainable and environmental friendly practices, that's where it is being termed as a greenwashing. So you can't just take anything in
Yeah, so
silos and say, okay.
yeah, and again to come back to that, let's say in this hotel example which is quoted here, let's say you have the hotel asking customers to take a decision whether you want us to wash your towels, for example, every single day. But in other aspects of managing the hotel and its operations, the hotel is not clearly being as mindful of the environment as it is asking or expecting its customers to be. Right. So when this happened, probably at that point in time, Mr. Westerworld would have thought that this is an eyewash. What they're asking me to do and what they actually are doing are two completely different things, and I do not need to, even be, I would say, not blackmailed, but actually, in a way, put in a situation that if you want us to use, and oh, will you be using detergents? Will be using water, and will be actually depleting natural resources just because you want a towel to be washed every day, right? So they put you in a situation where you take the decision not to do it. I'm not making any comments on how often a towel should be washed when in a hotel, but the fact clearly is that hotels are required to provide you with clean, fabrics wherever you stay, and that's what you pay them for. So all of that's actually fairly included in the bill that they ultimately raise on you after your stay. So, driving factors of greenwashing, basically, what is it that is leading or pushing corporates into resorting to greenwashing, which, as we spoke about earlier, is a practice that definitely is not a good one to follow at any point in time. As you have the environmental factors, which are about sustainability ratings, corporates would like to be one who have very good, or if not the highest sustainability rating that makes them look really good in front of their stakeholders and of course investors. They also put kind of a premium automatically on the product that the corporate is offering to its customers, and that specifically is a clear the most important driver here. So when you talk about whether it's environmental or corporate or product related, all of this ultimately drive into a situation where they would take more mind space, they would take more cloud, or they more preference from customers who wish to use products and pay for products even if it's slightly higher price, so long as they are adhering to sustainable environmental practices. And that is something which is clearly the driver here. Even from a cultural standpoint or the supply chain, you would have the same thing. The social media also drives a lot of comments. It actually also in a way shapes public opinion, or it's actually a reflection of public opinion. You can look at it any way on a particular day. But when you have a corporate that's called out for not being really mindful of the environment in which it is operating, then that actually is bad for its reputation. It's a reputation risk, and corporates do not want to be there, obviously, because that is something that it's difficult to come out from. And the stakeholders again are those who will be impacted once they know that they are in any which way associated with corporates that are not fully adhering to. I mean, every corporate may actually have a good vision statement, or a good statement about how eco-friendly its operations and its products are. But in reality, if it is not having these practices which are operated or which are worked upon every single day, then that exactly is the case of greenwashing. And these are the items that clearly drive. Here, I would also want to, kind of pause and uh, let us try and look at what are the kind of claims specifically that we can, that come out here. So I think it's come out in the ASCII code, and it's also widely, discussed in other areas. In fact, I was speaking to one or two of the companies that I was currently working with, and they kind of were a bit confused about how they should, whether they should be following the ASCII code or whether they should be following what has come under the CCPA. So that's a question for every corporate to take on its own. I mean, and we were discussing that, and we solved it for that entity. But there are examples, let us say, companies that are making absolute claims, right? An absolute claim can be a company saying that we are environmental friendly, we are eco-friendly, we have a sustainable friendly operations, or we have a let's say ISO 14001 certified products are made from eco-friendly materials, and therefore we are absolutely good. So this is an absolute claim. The company is actually saying it to you as a customer, hand on heart, that this is where we are and this is how we are conducting our business. And so that is an absolute claim that a company is making. Now, it's fine, the CCPA guidelines say, and everybody says it's fine to make a claim so long as it is absolutely true. If it is not, it is misleading. And why under the green washing prevention of greenwashing guidelines, prohibition of greenwashing guidelines, this is frowned upon, is because you are creating a very wrong impression, enticing customers by giving them an impression that you are absolutely exactly what you say you are, because there is no way in which that can be that is substantiated in the real world. It's if you someone had to go back and actually check the way your operations are conducted, they do not really meet with the environmental standards. They are not sustainable, and therefore you're actually misleading the customer. So that is something which calls about. The second way in which greenwashing can also happen, one, as I said, is the absolute claim. Second one is comparative claim, right? Where you are saying that such and such is the, let's say you are having an electric tube light or a light bulb, and you say that it has got more energy efficiency, right? It has say it gives more light, or it stays on longer, and uses less energy than 90% of other variants available in the market. Now that's a comparative claim which is made. Now that comparative claim, again, if it was only to say that, hey, my product or the bulb or tube light or the light that I'm selling is really of good quality, then it's much better than what is there available in the market and what is sold by the competition. And you have a technical a report that substantiate that claim, that's absolutely fine. But here you are differentiating with your competition on the basis of being better off in a eco-friendly sense, and that is a comparative claim. Again, mind you, this is still fine so long as it's factually correct. If it is not, then it is greenwashing. I just want to bring out the difference here. And then there are general claims. You would say that our containers are do not impact the environment. Now, like for a novice or a naive guy, he might just take your word for it. But if you people like you and me, possibly when we look at a product container, we would say, hey, this is plastic, so how is this being recycled? In what way in what manner is this actually going saving on the environment, and how this should be actually done, and whether the company is actually doing it. Now you do not really have the wherewithal, the way in which you can go about and identify that, or you can actually check on that. There's no way to validate it. So you rely on that claim, and if it is obviously not in sync with what the reality is, then it is a greenwashing claim. So ultimately, I would say that the claim should not contain any, let's say, a forward-looking statement, colors, graphics, which are associated with environment claims. So they should be supported by evidentiary proof. You should be able to actually do that. So this basically is what I also wanted to call out when we were talking about the driving factors.
Yeah. So here, I also wanted to add one thing here. Just to go back. So, when I say when we look at the drivers, again, I was also looking at the slide with another slide, which, talk about all the regulations which have come in line with the, for the green regulations. There is SEBI talking about it. There's Companies Act talking about it. There is RBI talking about it. There is an ASCII talking about it. Now, there are so many, varied regulators who are talking about greenwashing. Now, it's not just impacting in one way, because today I think in the changing business and environment, the governments, the consumers, the organizations, there everybody is getting conscious about our responsibility towards the environment. Now, when we are getting conscious about all of this, uh, any claim which is false, not justifiable, can can have an impact on anywhere. From getting an investment to be able to have somebody as as an independent director, to be able to gain profitability, to be able to get those legal notices for not being able to justify your claims, to your vendors who want to get associated with you, supply chains want to get associated with you, or even the employees when you are trying to hire them. So I think it's if I in the changing environment, the way I look at it, the green, the environment being environment friendly is an aspiration deep inside everyone. So everyone wants to get associated with the brand which it claims that they are being conscious about the environment, and what they are producing is very forward looking and will be safer for the environment. Now, any wrong claim can have an impact anywhere, not just the regulations, not just in one direction. I'm making a false claim, so it's only about advertisement. It is impacting, the everyone in a larger arena, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, let's say, what would green washing, or I mean, greenwashing is the term that you're talking about that's leading to this discussion and the webinar. And we are focusing on the CCPA, and you are absolutely right. There are so many other regulators who have also, come out with guidances and, regulatory stuff. In fact, I'd go about and say that there is uh, in addition to what was said out earlier, you have the our honorable finance minister at the 2024 union budget, is that talked about commitment to I would say a climate finance taxonomy for India, which will classify economic activities that support climate commitments and other environmental goals. So the government is clearly in focus on this now. The reason is that world over, this has actually led to a lot of discussion, and for us to continue to be a country which will continue to attract investments going forward, and like patient capital basically, is to ensure that you have the regulatory framework where you are recognizing these ills, and you are ensuring that they do not in any which way come to a situation where they wreck what actually is going on. So looking at having what basically is the impact is you of greenwashing is you're going to be losing consumer trust, because once it comes out that your policies, your practices are not mirroring what you are talking about, the customer is obviously going to lose trust. The customer is not going to look at not only the product where you fibbed or where you made a false claim. The customer is not going to buy any of your products. That's the way consumers generally lose trust with regard to a brand in its entirety, not only to a particular product. So that typically that's the way it generally happens. At the core, I mean, losing customer trust and all definitely is an issue, but at the core is the issue that the environment continues to be negatively impacted, because what is being put out is that everything is fine with this product and please go ahead and buy it. Earlier we were selling it for, let's say, $100. Now we're selling it for 120 because we spend more money and you're ensuring this without doing that. So that 20 is just a free amount coming into the to the manufacturer. But at the core, because the practices or the operations are not eco-friendly, not sustainable, they end up obviously damaging the environment, right? There is also an investigation litigation risk, because when these things come into play, regulators definitely are going to look at it and understand when it comes to light that the practices actually followed or which are employed at the manufacturer's location or the service provider's location are not exactly what they say to be, then there is an investigation and a litigation risk, which obviously will lead again to a reputation risk, which again leads to a loss of consumer trust, and it'll obviously lead to loss of revenue and then profit. So if you're doing this for doing this for if that was the whole end game all about, that's exactly what you're going to be losing out in greenwashing, right? So that's something which I clearly want to point out. So it's you really have to. I don't even think you really need to balance because it's right out there in the open. I mean, if you're doing this for it, that's exactly what you're going to lose if you don't actually walk your talk here. Yeah, so we just spoke about this actually. So I think I'll just leave this slide here for the consumption of those attending. Basically, what is the impact of greenwashing? So what is it on the product? There's a perceived risk and of brand credibility, right? That's exactly what I said now, right? The customers are going to lose trust. They are not going to obviously no one is going to like being fleeced. You would not, I would not. And then the customers say, hey, I'm not going to buy that product or buy that. Let's not even talk about a product. Let's say we're talking about not even a greenwashing example, but let's say you walk into a store and you're when you make a transaction, you feel that maybe your change when you used to pay in cash and not using QR codes nowadays, but you did not get the full money back, or you got a product which was, let's say, a bottle of shampoo that was opened, and in some way the product was substandard and did not meet your expectations. I don't think at any point in time that particular outlet will ever be your first port of call when you want to buy anything. I mean, you would go anywhere else but that. If you will go there only if it is not available, and if you anywhere else, and even when you go to that store, you will specifically check what you are buying, and before stepping out, or before, because you have lost. I mean, they've lost the trust you had in them, and that's entirely of their own making. Employees, employees also today are completely a different breed, given the changing, dynamics about how corporates go about and hire, and what employees look at. Employees really take pride in working for corporates that are, work in a sustainable manner, and they are mindful, and they're appreciated, and they have a reputation of doing that. And employees really take a good credence and good pride, because the story out there is, when you're in a group of folks in a social circle, you will most likely be saying that, hey, at so and so company where I work, we do not do this. Whatever we do is absolutely clean, is absolutely transparent. Whatever our products are, they are sourced from materials which are sustainable. The way we recycle our packaging material, the way we recycle are really great. So I know for sure, like, this is for example, let's say, you all would have heard about the company by the name Coupang, Coupang. An American-based entity. They have a huge operation in Asia. They also, I think, a very aggressive player in Taiwan. So the main focus that entity has is they are ensuring that they do not spend, and then they do a lot of delivery of food articles, vegetables, perishables, stuff like that. And their vision statement is, they want customers to think, what did I do when Kupang was not there? Right? That's the kind of they is the vision statement of the management. They want everybody to not be able to think about going through their day without having one transaction minimum on Coupon. Now, what these guys have done is, they have taken the packaging experience to a different level. They do not pack, vegetables and everything in a plastic box, and then it is delivered to you. It is packed in a plastic box only for the purpose of carriage. So once the item reaches the consumers, the place, point of pickup or the delivery, they hand over the item maybe in a jute bag, or simply in a bag that the customer buys, because obviously you are home and you definitely have, if not a bag or something, you'll take it in a vessel or whatever you want. And they carry the plastic container with them. So there is no plastic waste created at all. And they want to continue doing this in other markets as well. Can you imagine the amount of, I mean, the way in which they're reducing the dependency on, uh, plastic carry boxes, containers, and packaging material by doing this? That's humongous. I mean, and if other entities, and when they come out and talk about it as one of the environmental, sustainability goals, and I'll come to that in the future in the slides that are to follow. They come out with that and say, this is what we did. We were using in the previous year, we were using, let's say, 100,000 plastic boxes. And this year we have reduced it in a recycled manner. We use the plastic for something else, but we are not replenishing that packaging material stock here, right? That actually is a great statement to make. It is sustainable because yes, you have your accounts and your financials to validate that, and you're putting a lot of pressure on competition. Like people are going to say, hey, these guys are doing it. Why can't you? Why are you sending it stuff to me in plastic? Because I don't know what to do with this. I don't want, I mean, I'm not using, I don't want to use plastic because I don't think it's healthy to store food in that. I don't think I should be using it any which way. I don't know what quality of plastic it is. Of course, the one they use for delivery is a good and high grade plastic, which is absolutely good for carrying edible stuff. But the point I'm trying to make here is one good player with a good vision statement and actually working on it and making it out in the market is can also be a very good influencer, and that word is more used in so many ways today. Can be an influencer of a good corporate practice, right? So that's what organizations will be trending to, mind you, because even sitting here today, let's look at it. Why is greenwashing or environmental discussions, taken the headlines today? Because whichever city in India that you are currently staying, whether it's in Mumbai or any one of the big metros or wherever you are, everybody is experiencing that there's a significant change in climate. Like if you actually during this time of the year, if you really felt it used to be cold, it's maybe freezing cold, or you have unseasonal rains, or you have summers that are extremely excruciatingly hot, and you're wondering what's happening, and then you know why it's happening, because it's something really very simple. It's know that there's the climate change impacted by the way we have been using the natural resources in a manner that is not sustainable, and therefore consumers and people like you and me are getting more and more mindful and responsible in making their lifestyle choices. So they say, hey, I will not buy stuff which I don't need, or even if I mean, that's being frugal, but even if I buy something, I'm going to buy something that is really sustainable in so many ways, and it actually doesn't take away whatever it takes away from the environment. It actually pays back and gives it back in good measure, if not more. So those basically are what is the impact of greenwashing here. Jayant, you have anything to add? You're almost I mean, always welcome to do that. Yeah.
No, sir, I think we're good with this slide. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jayant talked about this, about, almost all regulators coming over, and, the Reserve Bank of India, before that, the SEBI as well, and the MCA, the ASCI, less of a regulator, but ASCI's codes are always self-governance, self-regulated codes, but they have been very clear about what specifically should go into, what they mean by greenwashing and how corporate should go about and do this stuff. And then what you're talking about here is the CCPA. So all of this specifically are, unlike in the West, and which I think will be in the slide to follow, are already in the public domain. We already know about this, and we've spoken in great detail about the CCPA, which came in very recently, almost around the same time as the ASCII guidance notes came along. So this is how the greenwashing regulations in India have evolved, and I think they will get more strengthened as we go along, because you're going to have I would say uh, companies, corporates, and I would say case laws, use cases being discussed, and more I would I'd say stuff coming out in the public domain, understanding and making people more aware as to how to recognize what is greenwashing, what exactly you should be looking for, and maybe at some point in time, because when ASCII, for example, identifies something or someone complains to ASCII, ASCII actually does send out a communication to the organization calling out that this is what they have heard, this is what they have received, and they ask them to explain. And that communication, or that interaction is then available on ASCII's website. So this it for me, as a corporate, it's a I would say if there's a wall of fame and there's a hall of shame, and that's where it is. If your company is being pulled up, or you are at the receiving end of a notification from a self-governing body like ASCII, or from a regulator that you have indulged in greenwashing, that's a difficult situation to be in. I mean, trust me, no company wants to be in that spot today, because it's very difficult to come out of it. It's very difficult. You would recollect, some years back there was some uh, complaints, again, not environmental friendly, but then you could look at it that way also, because that chocolate maker was known in India all over the world for making quality chocolates and available to the masses, but there were, absolutely inedible. And in fact, they contained germs, and they contained a lot of stuff which was very visible, and they had a huge ground to cover, coming back from where they were, after those items and those things came in the public domain. That was, I would say, I think it was Cadbury. Then you had about Maggie, which again, with regard to some content in its noodles pack, was again, pulled up. And whether they're environmental or not, a reputation, a brand reputation, is something that is built over decades. And a simple, one single instance can actually be a huge risk to that reputation. And it's always therefore advisable to ensure that, as a corporate, right from the beginning, you are going about and doing the right thing, in terms of, or not making a claim. If you are not, then you should not be making a claim. But if you are, then you should be ensuring that it actually is also factually correct. And not making a claim or not adhering to is no longer an option. You have to comply with certain standards of environmental sustainability in the products and services that you are offering.
So in fact, when you were talking, and I was exactly thinking of those two examples which you just mentioned about Maggie and Cadbury's. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and one more thing I just want to add here is, see, the way, and this is basically our experience. I'm saying the way regulations evolved, not just in today. It comes in one part of the world, and because everything is globalized, it start evolving, and it moves to different countries. And when we can take a classic example of a data protection, data protection
Right.
was not something which was talked about in India. It started
Yeah.
in Europe, and today every country is either already have their own data protection guidelines, or they are building one, and it is only getting stringent. Same I see with greenwashing. And this is all my guesses where I think it can move. So one, you have a SEBI starting it, you have an MCA also picking up, RBA getting involved. Now everybody has their own set of expectations. SEBI was trying to protect the investors. The RBI was talking about if you're taking any advantages of such claims, because government has some policies and incentives, and there are some cheaper debts of funds available. You should not be misusing them. Same, I would say it will come into the next steps, possibly from EHS laws. EHS laws in India are the least ones to get impacted, but it
Yeah.
would somewhere start coming. But again, what we have also seen in the market today, one, you get onto the wrong side of one regulator, rest everybody will come against you. Now you make one false, statement, and sir, you were talking about ASCII. I went on ASCII website and yesterday that they were already for a couple of cases mentioned on their website related to greenwashing, instances. Now it is already started happening, so it'll
Yes.
it'll come from one, others will get involved, and the issue can become bigger. So one have to be
Yeah.
very, very, it's not going to stop at one place, because it's going to be more deeper, and it's
Correct.
only start getting deeper as it goes along. And
Correct.
today, I would say the world has come to a level where every marketer wants to claim that we are sustainable, because the marketers see that this is a trending buzzword. Everybody relates to this buzzword about eco-friendly, sustainable. This is the next marketing gimmick. So by default, they get attracted towards, and sometimes you know what I all you know what, I was watching one product video, and I was talking about, so they said they claim to use some uh, some recycled material, and they say environment sustainable. But just by using a small environmental, or recycled material, it does not, make a bigger impact, because rest all the chemicals which you are using, and possibly you will use more chemical in making,
Correct,
in
correct.
reusing that one sustainable material. So,
Right.
it, yeah, marketeer, and again, this is because, this is how maybe, you're, because and I always said in my previous webinars also, sometimes the function who is going to make this claim, you may not even be, as a legal fraternity, we may not be involved with them on a day-to-day basis. So that's where somewhere, creating an awareness about it within the organization is also important. It shouldn't happen that one small thing which we have done, a marketer take a close for it and say, oh, I am sustainable, I am, environmental friendly. It is going to come back in a bigger way. So creating right awareness about this is also very important. uh, and how it is, and tracking which other regulators are also possibly um, coming your way with
Correct.
these regulations.
Yeah. Let's also look at ESG, right? We've had a series of sessions on ESG, Jayant, and ESG, like like it starts off with environment, right? So this is actually tying into that strongly, and you have that's already been in the focus for a while. And we the comment I made at this webinar, and also other conversations I've been having, is in so many ways, we like it or not, EH is actually going to drive how companies are going to be looked at, from by patient capital, by serious investors in the long run. So it never was, but now it's like so strongly linked to business growth and opportunities, that it is like it's a solid line connect here. And greenwashing firmly sits under that first E of ESG. And if ESG is a focal point for all companies, then you cannot escape being fully, completely adhering in letter, spirit, and walking the talk with regard to your environmental related, mission statements or vision statements, or your commitments to that, basically. Yeah. So here we were talking about the applicability, salient features, and the penalties. I mean, that's very clearly there on the slide. It applies, of course, to all manufacturers, service providers, or traders, and where you have advertisements, and where we are reaching out to consumers, and they are relying on those statements which are being made with regard to those product and services, and then being the buyers or service recipients, right? Agencies who are or endorsers who are involved in promoting the products are also equally covered. The features is about prohibition on greenwashing, and a very clear requirement that it should be, your environmental claims should be clearly substantiated, must be accurate, and be provided with accessible evidence. So let's say what you say, that oh, our products are, or this particular product, as Jain just mentioned, is made from entirely sustainable materials and stuff like that. For more details, please see, and they give a QR code or a link there. That doesn't work. The product has to have full information available, easily accessible to the customer, in the manner which he can access it, and he can make a decision there, whether he believes what he's looking for, whether this actually addresses what his thoughts or his questions are, and then make an informed purchase decision, right? Penalties are, I mean, actually, sadly in India, and I believe elsewhere also in the world, penalties are always act as a very good deterrent. And if you see, the monetary penalty is 10 to 50 lakhs, and that's it. That's quite an amount. Criminal penalties as well, and this also extends to endorsers. Okay, and as I said earlier, also to advertisement agencies, and the CCPA, of course, has a authority to take up this complaint. But the penalties which are obviously under the act, and the one that is clearly not mentioned here, is one which I called out right at the beginning, and that is about a reputation risk, loss of reputation for the entity, and therefore loss of market share, and therefore loss of revenue. And all these three things are not going to come back as quickly as they've gone by. And it must definitely has taken more than a decade plus to get there, and all of that would simply vanish in the event you are not in a position to deal with them. Or you continue doing what you're doing and making claims that are not that you're not able to substantiate or not validate with actual ground realities in the companies that you work for. Yeah, so this is about strategies and guidance for businesses to avoid legal hurdles, right? So one second. Yeah. Okay, great. So here I think we decided to start off with the statement from the United Nations, in which where it comes from the highest body at a global level, and it says to limit climate change and preserve a livable planet, the emission needs to be cut literally in half by 2030, right? And reduced to net zero by 2050. Of course, I mean that's basically where we are today in reality, and that is what we are experiencing when we see climate change. And all of this is, it stems from inordinate or reckless use of natural resources without a thought for replenishment, without a thought for sustainability. And over a period of time, maybe the generation next or the one after that potentially will be in a situation where they would not be able to recognize certain, they would not be even able to have certain species of flora and fauna available to see, and they will just be seeing them in museums or if at all anywhere else, right? So because of the way we currently are going, and therefore this is a very serious concern now for everyone, and that is where the UN is coming from. So when we come to that, how do corporates actually go about dealing with greenwashing? And obviously the first thing is don't get into greenwashing at all, right? And how do you do that? I mean, if today it means that you will need to be spending a lot more to set up a process that is compliant and which is sustainable, and that costs a lot of money. I think corporate should believe in the fact that not having such a process, not having a sustainable approach to planet Earth, it's actually going to be detrimental in so many ways. And the loss of revenue, the loss of repute, the loss of market share, consumer trust is, I mean, more than far outweighs whatever short-term profits you will ever have, because the short-term profits will always be exactly that, will be short-term profits. So I think you should have an authentic endorsement by environment organizations or experts who are actually, the leads in the business, and ensure that you do that. I mean, as a strategy, if you want to really come clean, then this is something you should definitely look at and continue to do. You should, avoid using imagery without substantive, or maybe you weren't using imaginary without substantive claims. You're just using an imagery, I'm sorry, uh, without having a claim under it. I mean, if you, for the moment you make a claim, you are actually getting into greenwashing, or you are greenwashing your products too, and claiming them to possess a certain level of environmental, concerns being taken care of, communicating that clearly to your potential consumer. If you're making comparisons, you're more than welcome. It's an open marketplace. If you think that your product is a lot better than anybody else's, go ahead and say it. Be sure that you're making valid, sustainable claims which has an evidentiary backup, and you're making meaningful comparisons. Claims to the extent should be absolute and relevant. If you are making an absolute claim, not exactly the what I mentioned some time back, but when you're making a claim which is very specific, and it is really and it is relevant to what you're talking about. And again, the whole fulcrum here is about whether the claim that you're making is real in every sense. That's something that it is absolutely essential for you not to come under, not to be penalized for making a false claim or indulging in greenwashing. Clarity and ambiguity in what you're saying, what you're claiming to be on your products is something which you would, which you should maintain. And of course, being truthful and accurate with regard to your claims and your communication. I would look at corporates looking at the UN statement in addition to what you see on the screen here. And as you can see, nearly 60% of the claims are by fashion brands are greenwashing on the right hand side of the screen here. And the number of cases jumped by 70%. Uh, More than two-thirds of the customers today are looking at products which are made from sustainable sources, or they can be replenished, and they are mindful of the environment in which they are operating. So customers are ready to pay more, and if the reason they pay more is because they believe in what you say. Like it's a, everybody, it's always said like uh, anybody's trust is for yours to lose. So anyone trust starts any transaction trusting you fully, and if you lose it, then it's going to be a difficult thing for you to regain that. Uh, the 42% of companies' sustainability credentials are way above what they are in reality. They are exaggerated, they are false or deceptive. So how would a corporate actually start working on the greenwashing? We know what greenwashing is. We know how this ties to ESG. We know how even without the regulations being there, we know that being sustainable is the smart thing to do. It is something that we owe to our planet. Natural resources are not infinite unless they are replenished and used sensibly. So I think, looking at the UN statement, I would say that every corporate looking at 2030 or 2050 as what has been called out in the UN statement, you should start having a specific roadmap. Okay, saying that okay, this is like today in uh, 24, exiting 24 into 25, you get like 5 full years in which this is the journey that we're going to take. Today, if you are at this percentage of products which are managed or manufactured in a manner which is not exactly where we want them to be, but we are going to move the needle on this from so and so to so and so in this first year, in this quarter, and so on. So make up a milestone or a clearly called out obligation to adhere to a net zero pledge, and then stick to it. Okay, then it's just not obviously sufficient to make a pledge. You need to create a transition plan, because all this time you've been working, or your entity or the company has been working in a particular fashion using a set of manufacturing processes or packaging material. You need to move away from that, and you need to move into different things. So you have to start transitioning. So here there is again a situation where how are you going to manage, or how are you going to be responsible for or who your suppliers are? Supposing you go about and say, I'm buying from a supplier who's giving me a a green sheet, not a clean sheet here, but a green sheet that his products and his manufacturing process is absolutely great. Now, he's your supplier. If you do not have the budget, you do not have the wherewithal, you do not have the understanding of going green completely, authentically, I don't think your supplier who would be in a position to do that, given that he is like fairly dependent on you for his business. He would, if he's making a statement, if you think that is absolving you because you relied on what he's saying, that doesn't work. While he would also be in violation of the provisions of law, but he is also exposing you to that risk of investigation and litigation, right? So your transition plan has to be really a very smart one, where you will go about and call out how you will move from one uh, manufacturing production process to another. You need to also, the third point I would stress is to increase the transparency and accountability. The information about pledges, targets, plans by government entities is hard to find. It's like often hidden. It's not really out there in the open. They need to actually come up and say that open formats and that facilitate comparisons, and expose yourself to maybe by doing that, when you make claims and when you are talking very openly and clearly, and you're talking about being very transparent, you are going to have competition really get thinking that okay, if this entity is claiming to be so and so, have we really checked? And don't be surprised if you find competition actually checking out whether products are really conforming to the standards and are environmental friendly as you have claimed them to be, right? So, but any which way, that shouldn't make you shy away from increasing the transparency and accountability of what you are communicating to your customers. And gradually, in addition to what you are doing, fossil fuels, which is specifically, moving on to fuel consumption that is more pragmatic, which comes in less and less dependent on fossil fuels like diesel and gasoline, petrol. It's something you need to look at. There are alternative sources of energy which can also help run things, and we've seen that also in India. It's something that you should be focusing on. So I think these would be the areas that I would call out in addition to what we see on the slide here. And okay. So the next slide actually is about the key foreign regulations here. We just also called out the year in which they came into play, like in the US 1992. So also in Singapore you see 1992, but most of the other countries have followed suit only in the current decade. And But yeah, I mean this is something which again it's not earlier. I would say if you had something going like almost more than 30 years ago, then why are we still not anywhere near some kind of why hasn't the needle moved? Why haven't we made any progress here? So let's admit it, it was a nice to have a lip service. You should be talking about the environment and ensure that things really are all good, and you are being a responsible manufacturer and stuff like that, and you are doing what you can to recycle stuff. I'm going to use bad plastic, but I'm going to recycle it. I mean, in what universe does that sound okay to, to anyone? It doesn't sound to me at least, but that's if that's what was happening, maybe that's what came into play. But today, what quality of packaging material and goods you're using, if they are of substandard quality, if they are a risk, if they are if they are of good quality, then how are you replenishing it? How are they actually going about, and how are you returning it back to the environment in a good positive way, and reducing your dependency on items which are harmful, are not eco-friendly. That those are the things that you really need to bring in. So at the core you can have any number of guidelines, regulations across the world, but at the core we just need to be mindful to being a very responsible resident of the planet where we are, because if we need the future generations to be to enjoy the benefits that we currently are, and if you look at the way things have been going in terms of climate change, which is no longer something which was happening someplace else. It's actually happening exactly in areas that we are staying, in countries that we are staying. And that actually makes it a very a very serious concern for all of us here. Yeah, so these basically are the regulations that we see across in the USA, the EU. Again, EU is like really very stringent here. So is Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and of course, India. We talked about several regulators, including the CCPA most recently. So I think with that we come to the end, or we have anything else here,
Yeah,
Akshat?
just couple of pointers. I just want there have been few questions, and there are a few
Sure.
pointers I just want to address. So one question that came on the where whether the penalties have been defined under the greenwashing guidelines from the CCPA. So I just want to bring your focus on the paragraph 10 of the greenwashing guidelines. They talk about the provisions for the contraventions of guidelines provision. It says the provision of the Act shall sustain in case of any contravention of the provisions of these guidelines. So when I say Act, which means Consumer Protection Act 2019, under which it falls in, and the slide which talked about the penalties initially, these are the penalties which have been picked up from the Consumer Protection Guidelines 2019. So as per the guidelines, I think those penalties would get applicable, right?
See,
And there was.
sorry, Jayant, I just wanted to add here that, well, the penalties, as I said, the penalties are a concern, right? Because that's money going out of your pocket. And it says it between 10 to 50 lakhs, depending on the severity of the offense. It also talks about that advertisers and influencers are responsible. They'll also have to be they'll also be pulled up when they indulge or they are supporting you know something like greenwashing. And then, of course, there is a situation where you have manufacturers, of course, they will come into play, influencers, advertisers, everybody. and there is a prosecution penalty also there. Now, all of these are penalties under the CCPA. But as I said, the core issue is not about these monetary penalties. The core issue is about the investigation that happens, about the litigation that you will face. That is, you may not, if you may finally end up not paying a penalty if you come up and come up and show that you have some evidence or whatever, and that might give you a green sheet. But if that happens, that is great. But if it does not, then you are exposed to loss of trust for your consumers, and this directly leads to erosion of your business, with regard to, I mean, obviously the revenue, profits, and all of that. Your market share will nosedive, and consumers will definitely not buy only if you pulled up for product A and you got product A to Z. People are not even going to buy the other products if they're not comfortable with what they heard about you, about making claims that were not right, or they were basically blatant lies. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Jayant. I'm
Yeah, no, so in fact, I just want to add one more thing here. So, because sometimes, today I believe the monetary penalty definitely are decent amount, but more than that, what today gets impacted is if there are so many influencers, there are so many parallel media channels which you have no control on, and sometimes you don't know from where it one of the videos will get made against one claim which is acceptable, or one penalties which have been imposed on you, and the kind of visibility and the it will get. So just a while ago I was watching a video which has been made against one of the founder of a education very well known education brand, who was abusing his employees because of the delay in penalty, and they were questioning his decision of investing when the salaries were not being paid on time. Now, suddenly it is all over the place. And while I'm talking to you and without naming the brand, I'm sure you have figured out the brand I'm talking about, right? So it becomes so viral nowadays that the damage you get because of the bad media publicity is far more than the damage which you will get from the regulators in terms of the penalties. Uh, there are plenty of examples today. One of the famous Punjabi singer did so many shows in India, made crores of rupees, and while he was going out, he made one statement, and there's so much of media flag going on against. Again, the ratings dip. One major big actor make one statement, make one endorsement decision, suddenly all his movies are flopping. Now, see, these are today indicators. One wrong decisions, one negative publicity can lead to many of these, and there are so many influences today. So today doing business have become more difficult than it was ever because of the constant media watch. You don't know when you are getting who is watching you, and as Mr. Punde said, maybe your competition is watching you. Your competition can maybe funding that one influencer and say, hey, I'm giving you money to go and make a video against you and make it viral. You never know. So you have to be very, very mindful and careful about such things. And there are instances, and as of today we're taking examples. Uh, we're taking examples of uh, uh, companies who have initially been fined because of false claims. These are out in the public. We are discussing also. So likewise, any cases gets discussed. So I think those are bigger penalties than what regulators will put as a fine to you today. So there was uh, see that there was a question about are there examples of endorsement a penalty imposed in India, the greenwashing and the CCPA as of today, we don't know. As I said, there are a couple of cases of, which I have found in ASCII website, uh, where they have initiated some inquiries against certain brands about the greenwashing, but as such, not none known claims per se, right?
Yeah, but this is just because we don't have any doesn't mean there wouldn't be one. And
Right.
ASCII is actually pulling up, and as Jain rightly pointed out, ASCII is a promotes self-regulation. So ASCII says that this is what is my guidance, whether it is about influencer marketing, whether it is about anything else. ASCII would come up and say that, hey, this is what we think, and I found it to be fairly a well thought out approach to what they bring out. And if they when they come up and they, initiate some kind of a notice, reply, and, consideration and kind of a process that they have a very open and a transparent one with the, with an entity. That does not absolve the entity in any way. And tomorrow, if the CCPA or any of the other regulator will to pull up that entity will not be, will not have a, no, can't say that, hey, ASCII already asked me this and we replied and we've taken down the thing and, therefore we are absolutely good. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You'll still be answerable to a regulator, and ASCII's action of asking you to cease and desist, let's say, or explain, and then you do that. That doesn't mean that you're off the hook. I mean, actually, by ASCII doing that, as Jayant rightly pointed out, it comes right out in the open that, okay, yeah, this entity is actually, indulge in this activity, which is, punishable under law. So now, I mean, the real action would start after ASCII's closes his investigation with you. You get what we are saying?
And
There
I've
is a
seen,
question here.
yeah, and I've seen ASCII taking a suo moto action,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
actions also.
I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Anything else? Do you have any other questions, or are we good then?
Girish, uh, you have mentioned about something, but I'm not able to see your question. I just would have taken it. I can only see that you have mentioned about there could be a global accepted definitions. Trust me, my Girish, we're working in global territories also. Uh, Definition is one thing which you can't even get two regulators use the same definitions. And I wish a time will come when two countries are talking about a similar definition. Very difficult, but yeah, that should be that's an ideal word. So my request to everyone is also the Trishul has shared link to one of our one of our article on greenwashing. I think this is quite interesting. And now, after attending this session, if you read that article, it'll make more sense. So maybe you can refer back to that article, and again, Mobile has shared the link again. And as I see, no. Is marketing average mileage of car on is greenwashing or not because they are using asterisk marks and saying it's a lab test? So we want to take this question.
No, no. That is not greenwashing because you are saying that your car's mileage is so and so. This is my thought. I just saw also the question pop up on the screen, so I'm just hazarding a quick response to it. It is a misleading claim. Greenwashing claim, let us say very clearly, is a claim where you are claiming that your product has a environmental, a positive attribute, which it in reality does not have. Okay. So supposing you are saying that my car is giving a better mileage because I'm using a certain, a variety of engine or a variety of or a version of, whatever you call an internal system or a process or a combustion engine or stuff like that, because of which my car is giving you a better mileage, and then it is therefore using less fuel, obviously. Yes, then it actually comes. But if you're simplicity or saying that it's a under test conditions, lab conditions, my car is so and so and so and so, I think that would be a comparative claim because you are comparing it with others because you're saying it is less than or it is the best in with its similar sized cars or similar variety of vehicles. But ultimately, your claim is about using less fuel to go from point A to point B. So if any was driving that 100 kilometers in your car, they would use let's say 10 liters of petrol. Driving your car, they would use only 8. So you are making an environmental claim there. Yes, if it is sustainable, it is fine. Otherwise, you are just saying that my car is better than his car because I'm giving a better average on fuel. Then that's a comparative claim.
So in fact, I just want to quote one example. In 2015, there was a global automaker who was fined, and obviously then an inquiry was made against them because they claimed that diesel cars are as eco-friendly. Now, I think it's about the claim which you say. You say my mileage is less, because you are putting an asterisk and saying in an ideal condition, on a national highway, where there was no traffic early in the morning at an ideal speed of 40 kilometers. Yeah, that's not an environmental claim. That's a product capability claim. Okay, I don't think
Absolutely.
this falls under greenwashing. Moment you say my car is eco-friendly using a petrol engine or a diesel engine, that's what I think would lead to a greenwashing claim, right?
Agree. Yeah.
Good. I think we don't have any further questions. We want to start offering the discounts based on so if a goes, hotel will start offering discounts. That's again not a. I don't see this as a greenwashing claim because he's not talking about that I'm being eco-friendly. Again, it's all about the language you will use in this claim. If I'm saying is you don't make me wash your towel, okay, uh, I'll give you 100 rupees discount. It's not a greenwashing, it's a discount, it's a marketing sales gimmick. You say, I am offering a discount on your stay if you are you okay to use reused linen again on a second day. So hence I am eco-friendly. That's a greenwashing, right? So again, what claim you're making, that's more important, Girish. So thank you so much. I think we've already overstretched on the time. Sir, uh, it was a really interesting session. Must say that when you speak, it is so much of passion, and it feels like that I'm sitting in a class trying to learn something new. Uh,
My
I
pleasure, my
must
pleasure, Jayant. And sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I said it's always, always make the subject very interesting. So thank you so much for you really have that art, and I hope.
Thanks, Jayant, for the kind words. And as I said right at the beginning, it's a pleasure working with your team and getting with you together on this panel. And I think I see there is a lot of interest, and this is a topic, as you said, like whenever there are new topics that come into play, in which will gradually or over a period of a very short time, like this one is going to get a lot of attention because this is something that drives at the very core of our existence. Nothing drives at the very core of existence as much as environmental friendly, the focus on sustainability is. Nothing goes beyond that. So I think therefore this topic of dark matters, consumer focused areas are very close to my heart. And when I was asked by Trishal, I just jumped at the opportunity. So I was very happy to be on this call. And thank you for making this a very interesting afternoon today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in this session today. And the your YouTube video will be published very soon. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you will be notified whenever it is available. Because there are some points I'm sure which you would may want to go back. There are some screenshots which you may want to take once the videos are available. And we look forward to continue bringing some more interesting topics and having you in our next session also. And
Sure.
I'm sure we are gonna meet again in the next year. So wish you all a very happy new year and stay safe. Have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Lawrbit. And thank you, everyone. Bye.